Hey drillers, it's Adam Jupe, founder of the Drill Dojo, and in this video I wanted to talk about the Yellow Sling curriculum and how to do each of the tricks required for the Yellow Sling curriculum. So just before we start, I want you guys to know that this white tape, whenever you see it on my rifle here, this is going to indicate the balance point. A lot of tricks revolve around the balance point, so when you're adjusting your hands, you should really take a look at where my hands are in relationship to this balance point. So we'll start with the mandatory tricks. First on the trick set list is going to be a Backey Forthey. That looks like this. All right, so that's best technique. Second best technique is going to be like this. All right. In each case, I recommend starting with the second best technique and moving up to the first best technique, but they're both going to accomplish moving the rifle in one direction and then moving the rifle in the other direction. So if you've already done the single spin, which you should have with the white sling curriculum, it is not any harder than that, despite what you may think or feel. The thing is, if you've done that drill where you're swinging it with your left hand and you spin it over in order to get that spin, well, when your right hand makes contact with the rifle, your hands are already in the right position they should be. And what's going to happen here is that you're going to do a spin again, but with your right hand. Okay? So it is literally just a left hand spin brought down, right hand spin. It may help to think of this as the dip position for the left hand side, and then you stop, and then you go to the dip position for the right hand side, and then you do a reverse spin. I do recommend a Backey Forthey go single spin, reverse spin, single spin. I think that looks really, really nice. But for qualification, the only thing you have to do is hit this single spin and this backward spin. Now, if you wanted to get a little bit extra, and you will for the orange sling curriculum, you're going to be working up to a C set, right? So the C set's going to look like this, and that's what leads into things like the rising sun or downtowns and Hawaiian punches. Now, in order to get that nice clean C set, you really want to refine this Backey Forthey in sort of like a single aerial style. So what you're going to do is you're going to do that single spin, but instead of stopping it with your hand on the midpoint here and up here, you're going to let it go a little bit higher and a little bit further over. And your left hand's going to cross in front of your body at the small of the stock. The right hand's going to be on this upper sling swivel. Then, instead of doing that reverse spin that's very nice and easy, you're going to do a reverse aerial, and it's actually going to leave your hands and travel back into this regular dip position. Your right hand will be up here towards the small of the stock. Your left hand will be above the balance point below the sling swivel. This will set you up nicely to do your single spin again and get ready to reset for whatever you have to do. For team mechanics, 2, 3 is a really good set to work with in your team sequencing, but it is really hard to get it together. So you really want to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you want to use those noises in order to get your team together on it. Noise, noise, noise. And there'll be 2 counts in between. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4. That's how to best integrate it with the team, although while this is deceptively easy as an individual, it is deceptively hard to get together as a team. So you should know that going into your sequencing. But again, bare minimum qualification standard. Doesn't have to be sharp. I just want the idea to be there that the rifle moves in one direction and spins around in the other, and that it's a left-hand spin, right-hand spin. From there, definitely work on this kind of aerial technique, because you'll be approaching aerials much more frequently throughout the curriculum. So getting a single aerial, what essentially that is going to help you with your Backey Fortheys tremendously. The next trick on the mandatory list is a square tick-tock. A square tick-tock looks like this, and it is a really useful trick for communicating power. This one is definitely one that goes into team sequencing because it's nice and boxy. You have good angles, you have good exhibition angles, but it is even more than that. If you watch closely, I hit my hand pin every time that my hand is not in use. Right? So you're going to add in some of those points if you do it really well. A lot of people make the mistake of keeping their hand up here waiting for it. There's no need for that. This trick is at the right starting point for really honing in those hand pins and getting it every time that your hand is not in use. So let's talk about technique now. So for the square tick-tock, proper technique is to start at vertical port. You're going to drop the rifle straight down. This rifle should be flat, with this line being parallel to the ground. Now, With this line parallel to the ground, that means your left hand will be slightly higher than your right, but that's okay because it looks better than this, which technically has this line flat with the sling, but it doesn't look quite as good. Now the balance point will be centered on your belly button. It'll be about a fist length away. Notice how spread my hands are. This spread from the balance point is going to give me maximum control and power. Now here's the secret. It's this right-handed thumb. This right-handed thumb is underneath on the small of the stock. This right-handed thumb is what's going to push the rifle up. Your left hand, just here for the sake of balance, to keep it here. There is no power that comes from your left hand in order to get this. You're going to lift with your right hand and catch with your right hand. Okay? So knowing that, every single part of this trick is done with the right hand. Your left hand is just there to keep it level with the ground and make it look nice. So now that you have it straight up and down, your sling should be facing to your right. Rifle will be straight up and down using this line here, the upper hand guard meeting the bigger stock. This line will create a straight line straight down. That's what needs to be up and down. Hit that hand pin, and then you just do those 2 repeating motions again. You drop it down, keep this part flat. Right hand has your thumb underneath, left hand just there for support. Your right hand is going to use this thumb to lift. It's going to lift about face height, and then move back down to the small of the stock. Right? All of that on the right hand. That was it. And then you can hit port again. So work those. This is a good one for teaching by the numbers, because you go ready 1, ready 2. And then everyone kind of wobbles and tries to find their place, but they learn that balance, and you can correct that hand pin. You can hold these positions for as long as you want. Ready 3, ready 4, ready 5. You can even chain these together. Ready 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, port. All right, so the big key component here is that right hand controls literally everything other than the strength of the stop. Left hand does not need to push up, and the left hand does not need to go anywhere. It really just stays still, hand pins, down, hand pins. This one is particularly good for team sequencing because it has a lot of availability to improvise and create really cool things. So tic-tacs have really cool properties where anytime you're in any sort of vertical alignment or horizontal alignment, you pretty much have options to do any sort of tic-tac that you want. So there are a lot of box movements from the tic-tac that really highlight sequencing, and I would say the top level teams use tic-tac variants for 50 to 70% of their sequencing, but it doesn't look the same because this looks different than this, but you can still put both of them in a sequence and it's not too much different. One thing to note is that this style of tic-tac is built kind of a little bit off of K aerials, which you'll learn on the next curriculum, but they are commonly used in teams. So for qualification, I'm not looking for speed. What I'm looking for is a flat angle, an up angle, a flat angle, an up angle. Okay. You can go 1, 2, 3, and then port, straight to port. Hand pin, strongly recommend you work it in now, but I will not hold it against you this early in the curriculum if you are not using your hand pin. But you should definitely be trying to get that left hand pin and only left hand pin during this trick throughout the entire thing. The next mandatory trick serves as your introduction into flow drill. It's called a half beat to right shoulder, and it looks very fancy, but it really isn't. From the front, it looks like this. All right, it's one of those tricks that it's kind of the opposite of a duck swimming. It looks like there's a lot going on the surface, but underneath, it's pretty steady. So the core component of this half beat to right shoulder is going to be in this single spin. And I like to meet it early. And you'll do this single spin on your side. So run this drill first, just to run this single spin on the side. Get very comfortable with it. And meet it with your right hand a little bit early. This is going to give you time and space to get a hold of the rifle and pull it back. So once you've got this single spin, and you're catching it just a little bit early, you're going to pull it back from this 45 degree to this 45 degree. And this is where the magic happens. I'll show you from the front, because it looks like I'm just pulling back and tucking it into my arm, but there is an extra step. A lot of the common problem people have on this is that they just pull it back, and then this is the wrong orientation, because when you go to your shoulder, it's backwards, right? And you want the sling to face your shoulder. So there is this masked motion here of the rifle flipping on this axis. If you're learning this for the first time, I highly encourage you to do your single spin and get your stop, and then move the rifle out this way, okay? As you move it this way, you'll start moving it that way and further out in front of you. Okay, you can move it straight from side to side, and then at an angle, and then at your side. And the idea is have it tucked into your arm with the sling facing away from you. Okay, so it tucks this way, and your arm comes up. Okay, so let's go through those steps again. Single spin, catch it early, pop it out, rifle is tucked with your sling facing away from you. I highly encourage you pause this video here or rewatch the last couple of minutes in order to make sure you can get to this position, because this is what makes the rest of it work. Single spin, flip this way, you're tucked. You want to make sure you're not tucked too tight. You don't want it attached to your shoulder. And you don't even want it touching your elbow, this soft part of your elbow. You want it on the outside of your elbow. That's what's going to give you the availability to lift your arm and do a port spin. It's just a port spin from there up to your shoulder. Okay? Spin, flip, outside of the elbow. Lift your hand like you just yes, I did it. Right? That's all it is. It's just lifting your hand up to your face from your side. Rifle will be in this orientation. Left hand comes across. I recommend being above the trigger. That's going to give you a lot of control. A lot of people come down here at the trigger, and then it gets all sloppy here because they can't get it around. Okay? So this is different technique from the other port spin because you're coming above the trigger, and then that's going to give you a lot of control because you're closer to the balance point, right? Hand comes underneath for the right shoulder, tucks into the shoulder. From this angle, spin. You can start moving this axis rotation and hiding it by going out. Rifle sling is out. Arm comes up on the outside of your elbow. Left hand comes across like you're taking a bow. Above the trigger. Rotates around into shoulder. Tucks into shoulder. Once you have all of those components step by step, put it together. And you should end up with a very smooth, continuous looking half beat to right shoulder. Now, it's really important for your qualification that it goes into your shoulder here, because this will lead into another trick down the line called a shoulder roll, where you do a half beat to right shoulder, and then you just let it go, and it falls into your shoulder roll. That's going to be an Orange Sling curriculum trick, so definitely check that out in a different curriculum. For this one, I am only looking for rotates in to shoulder. I definitely want this sling touching shoulder. I definitely prefer that the rifle has the sling facing out when you come here, so that way when you do that port spin, it's very clean into the shoulder. Again, because that's going to lead into your Orange Sling curriculum trick. You can be a little choppy with it for your test out video, but I do recommend, if you really like flow drill, if you really like this style, really work on getting it smooth and continuous without any choppy breaks into it. And a lot of how that's going to go is you meet it early and then you kind of like soft grip it in instead of stopping. Just mask that flip around the axis. Arm up. Let it slip from your grip to get into that port spin, into shoulder. And that's how to do a half beat to right shoulder. For the next trick, you have your choice of either a Statue of Liberty or a single right shoulder toss. And you'll notice what's cool about this trick is that I added the same amount of momentum and energy into each of them. The only difference was my catch position. So we're going to start with the Statue of Liberty. Okay, that seems to be a more common one in JRTC units. And the trick here is going to be in this arm and this hand. So you want to make sure your right shoulder is one of those good right shoulders where your finger comes out in front of the butt plate here. When the rifle drops down, your arm will lock all the way straight. Your left hand will be between the upper sling swivel and the balance point. Okay? This is where you're going to get some of that driving energy from. So with your arm locked all the way down and your hand tucked up here by your side. What you're going to do is you're going to lift your hand up to your ear, okay? So it's going to be gentle. So you don't have to add a whole lot. In fact, I'll show you it right the first way, but then I'll show you just how little you really need to put into it in order to get this trick in particular. Down the road for double right shoulder tosses, you'll need the proper grip though. But here, you just lift your hand to your ear, and as long as the rifle is angled forward just a little bit, and you lift your rifle, or you lift your hand to your ear, the rifle rotates around the axis, and you grab here, right in between the barrel and the upper sling swivel, okay? So it's a 2 count, 1, 2. It is the drop at an angle, lift your hands up. Now, so little of this needs to go into it that I'm going to show you with an open palm and your finger here. All you have to do is lift your hand in this straight like you're bowling, okay? And when you're bowling, your arm goes straight. If it doesn't, it'll curve left to right. Same thing, if you don't go exactly straight up here, the rifle will go left to right. So, if you want your equipment to go properly, you just lift your hand to your ear. And the equipment just flips around the axis all on its own, and you get this nice Statue of Liberty, which is reminiscent of, the Statue of Liberty in New York. So if you catch it up here, there's this cool property where your equipment will naturally fall down to this position. And for a single right shoulder toss, if you meet it instead of here, if you take your hand and meet it on the sling side, your equipment will fall from a Statue of Liberty position down to a single right shoulder toss. And you can grab it, flip it around the axis using your thumb on this side, flips around the axis, and you'll be able to get a single right shoulder toss, which really sets up for aerials in particular. All right, so that's useful for that single right shoulder toss. But the motion is the same. Your hand comes from here, it lifts up to your ear, right roughly this height, like your lower ear height. Rifle catches, single right shoulder toss, same energy. Your hand waits forward up here, like you're holding a taco or a football, like you're throwing a football. It'll rotate it this way, drop it down, move on to your next trick. So both of those are two tricks that are like the same, two sides of the same coin, which is why you have your choice of one or the other for qualification purposes. I do want to stress, there's just not a lot of energy that goes into it. Raising your hand, catching your equipment, and dropping it down, all I'm looking for. If you're choosing to do a Statue of Liberty for your test out, I do like stable. If it like falls forward and drops down and you don't have control of it, for I would say a period of about 2 seconds, there's a chance it'll ask you to redo your qualification. So make sure, especially if you're doing this Statue of Liberty toss, that you're able to control it and that it's not steady. And I'm also, if you do a two-handed catch, I don't accept that because it's supposed to be a Statue of Liberty with one hand, it's supposed to be reminiscent of the New York Statue of Liberty. So if you're doing a two-handed catch, that's not going to work for qualification purposes. This teaches a lot of control. It gets you comfortable with aerials, and it really makes a nice appearance for a team or an individual. The last component I want to talk about is this hand pin. This left hand will be on your side for both of these tricks. This is all right hand tricks. So as soon as you let go, your left hand will pop to your side at the position of attention. Okay, that's what's going to create a nice, solid appearance for your competition, or just for your demonstration. Maybe you're at a school, or for your test out for your for your yellow sling certification. So that's all there is to right shoulder tosses at this level. Best technique's going to have your hand around the bottom here, so that way when you lift up higher, you can actually start to pull back for your double right shoulder tosses. So get in that habit now of the right finger being around the butt. So that's going to get your single right shoulder toss, but that finger pulling back is what gets you double right shoulder tosses, and it helps the rifle twirl in the air. It's that pull back motion. So get in that good habit here of your finger in front of the butt plate, so that way when you lift up, you can start learning how to get higher and more rotation. All right, so the next trick on our list is a single side toss. Okay, so that's what it looks like. There are a variety of ways to lead into this. A lot of teams or individuals will kick it back, get that rotation in there to get the catch. Some individuals will use two hands. This is going to help a lot of control and height, especially when you move on to other side tosses. So you can do a one-handed catch over the shoulder. You can do a two-handed catch over the shoulder in front of your body. The important part is that there's an aerial here, and the rifle rotates around this axis one single time to get your single side toss. I would say best technique for a single side toss has absolutely no wind up. You should be able to move your hand forward and the equipment will follow behind it, and then flick your hand back for your equipment to land in position. Now, because a lot of this is on the right hand, your left hand will be pinned by your side for most of it, unless you're using the two-hand technique. And then as soon as you release, you hit that left hand hitting that pin. So a single side toss built into aerials. It's not a very dangerous trick, which is why I like it for introduction to letting go. You have to let go of the rifle for this to work and to have its desired effect. So there really aren't a whole lot of secrets to it. I think most people kind of get it right away. The hard part is letting go. So choose your style. I like left hand over right because that's what's going to allow you for a lot higher aerials and a lot higher control. So step one is to pick the rifle up. I do left hand in front, right hand in back. And your equipment's going to be level with the ground using this upper hand guard and the lower stock as your gauge for what's parallel to the ground. Okay, so once it's here, you're just going to let it swing forward. Your equipment does this nice little arc just like a regular single spin. And the big trick here is to pull back. So that way, pull back this way so it falls over your shoulder. So a lot of people make the mistake of, if it's going out here, you're missing that pull back component. You're letting it swing, and then it's falling out here, and you have no control. So if that's happening to you, the troubleshoot is once it's here, pull back a little bit, and it should land somewhere in the vicinity of your shoulder for that nice little catch there. Best catch going to be with the upper hand guard and the stock level with the ground. If you're not doing a one-handed catch, your left hand is free to wait here until you get to double side tosses and triple side tosses, and then both hands will hit that balance point. So any technique to build into momentum is going to be fine by me. You're not graded on precision here, so the key component that I want is actually physically letting go. There is a cheat technique that I don't like to see, where the left hand comes under here and you do a single spin. I don't like to see that because that doesn't build very well into higher, loftier double side tosses or triple side tosses. This very you lose a lot of power with it. But if your hands are higher up, you'll be able to get a lot more height and a lot more energy out of it later on when you're doing other tricks in the curriculum. So that's it for the single side toss. However you get to here, if you get to there, the component I'm looking for is release and catch. Later on, you'll be judged on how level this is when you catch. For right now, release and catch works for your qualification. So we've completed the mandatory section, and now we're moving on to the pick one section. You're going to see a list of 4 tricks here, and you're only going to have to pick one of them. So I'm going to walk you through each one. If you do your 5 mandatory tricks and 1 of the tricks down below for your pick 1, you'll get your qualification with 6 total tricks. The first trick we're going to do is a waterfall. A waterfall is a really cool trick. Has a nice little effect here. It's a good right shoulder trick. Leads really nicely into port spin or left shoulder arms. So the trick here is to be at right shoulder already. And I like putting this to account, right? So if you move your equipment back so it's level with the ground and then over, this is going to be a very nice setup here. From this direction, you'll see that the balance point is aligned with my spine. This is going to be a very nice technique in order to make sure it stays centered on your back. Okay? So once it's centered on your back, your left hand will go to parade rest if you're Army Marine Corps. So it's going to be this upper part. So Air Force, if you're down here, you're going to move your hand up here. So this parade rest. And just maybe open your hand a little this way. And all you have to do is trust yourself and let go. Okay? The component I'm looking for on this is the let go without trying to stop it. This is really nice for training behind the back motions, right? Because that's going to be right here is where you're going to collect a lot of flow movements and all your behind the backs. They're collected here on the small of the back at your parade rest. So shoulder, back, drop. Now that you're here, you can come up to left shoulder, or I like bringing it in front and going to port arms. Those are your options out of Waterfall. The thing I don't want to see is some cadets, some students will just go and let the rifle here, and they never let go. That's not what I'm looking for, because that's going to move your hand out of this position where it's supposed to be for collecting all of your BTBs, and it's going to rob you of the opportunity to get comfortable, trusting yourself enough to let go of your equipment and to manipulate it to bring it back around in front. So if you're doing this, I'm looking for this position here, a full drop, and once you're here, you've completed the trick. Everything you do here is extra. So that's how you complete a waterfall. The next two tricks are like your Statue of Liberty and your single side toss. They're two sides of the same coin. The mechanics are the same, but the way you move your arm is just different enough that they're qualified as different tricks. They're listed as an or in this case just to exemplify how similar they are, but you only need to pick one, so whatever you do here is going to be great. So this is going to be a fire knife and a right-handed rising sun. And the technique here is to start, this is what's called like a C-set grab. C-set stands for counterclockwise setup, but that's a mouthful, so we shorten it to C-set. You'll notice my hand, my middle finger is on the balance point, and my thumb wraps around the thinnest part next to the balance point. So as close as I can get to the balance point, but the thinnest part over. This is going to give you a lot of grab. And so if you're going to do a fire knife, your hand, it can be a little bit loose, but it will never leave this grip. And you'll want to bring the rifle behind you and in front of you. And you'll notice my hand doesn't move. It's all in my wrist and using the rifle's momentum to my advantage. Okay? Your left hand will come over to your side for a hand pin. And it helps to tighten your abs here. Get used to that feeling, so that way you're not rocking back and forth with your equipment. Okay? When you move on to C-set from Backey Forthey, this is the grip you're going to look for. So this is a nice pick for you to learn now, so you don't have to learn it later in the Orange Sling curriculum. All right? So watch this barrel here. This barrel side drops down to the ground. I recommend you do this with me. And then out to the side. As it's to the side, my arm is completely straight. And I'm going to use my wrist to bring this side of the equipment around my body, and it's going to fall back to face this way. Okay? So there's not a specific orientation for your sling. It could face the ground. It could face backwards. I usually go somewhere in the middle because it's going to correct itself halfway through the trick. And it moves too fast for most judges to be able to understand what plane it's going to be in. So whatever's comfortable here works. You're just going to need your grip to have not changed and the equipment to be facing this way. Barrel's going to fall towards the ground again. And you're going to feel like you're over-torquing your arm here. And you kind of are. But you're going to bring your equipment back in front of your body, and you're back to your starting position. Okay? So this starting position is what's going to build this continuous motion here. Lead with the barrel as it goes behind your body and in front of your body. And behind your body and in front of your body. And the thing that most people get confused on is when to move the equipment back in front of your body or back behind your body. And it's going to be led by this barrel. So move slowly. Your grip doesn't change. You never let go. So you can move slowly here in order to achieve your fire knife. Common troubleshooting things is going to be not knowing when to go back. If your hand gets torqued here, you over-rotated by a half of a spin. Okay? So you don't want to lead with the butt. That's going to ruin all of your composure. So, and behind, same deal. If you're trying to lead with the butt coming in front, you over-rotated by 1/2. So too much here and too much here. So this is the component of a fire knife. In order to do a right-hand rising sun, all you're going to do is when you're at this position, you're going to bring your hand up and over to cross in front of your body as though it's like a sash, right? So Same component here. Like I said, these tricks are very connected. Your thumb's going to be on top near the balance point. The barrel will fall down, cross behind your body, just like a fire knife. And you're in that same position we were talking about, where the barrel's facing this way, and the rifle has some sort of orientation here. From here, instead of rotating out and back in front, you're going to bring your hand up, and that's going to cover a lot of the ground there. And now you're drawing this circle across your body, like you're wearing a sash going from your left shoulder to your right shoulder, and you want to trace that sash. Again, the barrel is what leads the way in front of the body as you sash in front. All right? I'm looking for 2 cycles on each of these. So if you're doing a fire knife, that's going to be the advanced counterclockwise setup. If you're doing a fire knife, I'm just looking for a 1, 2. And if you're doing a right hand rising sun, I'm looking for a 1 sash, 2 sash. And then you can stop it from there however you choose to. So those are going to be the components of a fire knife for your right hand and your right hand rising sun. And these lead into a whole bunch of other flow tricks and aerial tricks down the road that you'll encounter. So choosing one of these 2 is going to be a really great pick for your qualification to get ahead of it now. The last trick on the pick 1 section is called a Twisty. It looks like this. It's a nice little fingertip trick that moves the rifle from sling facing to the left to out. It's really good for team sequencing because you can build into it as a 1, 2, and then go to slam on the ground before hitting other components there. It's nice to do all together. It adds a little flair to whatever you're doing, and it's a great individual trick as well. So the thing you want to do here is realize that it's all in the right hand. Okay, left hand is just here to support and add effect. So it's all in the right hand. You should be able to grab the rifle and support it entirely with your right hand. Now your fingertips, the middle parts of the knuckles, will be on sling side of your equipment, and your actual fingertips will actually cross over to this side of your equipment. All right? So it'll go past the sling. And this is what gives you that driving motion to twist your wrist out. Okay? And it's not a lot of wrist motion. You're moving kind of your whole arm with it, and you're twisting it out like this. Okay? So imagine you're taking a light bulb, and you are twisting it from an awkward angle, right? But you're twisting a light bulb into its socket and giving it a little bit of up pop to move out to your side. So it's one of those tricks you have to play with in order to sharpen up. But hit this position here with your fingertips towards the outside, your actual fingertips towards your inside, close to your body. Your thumb out the way. Move your thumb off to the side, right? We don't want to grab it because then you're going to be awkward. So this thumb, very, very important that your thumb moves off to the side. Grab, twist, and that's all. That's all the component you need for your qualification is 1 rotation to the outside. Now, the common problem a lot of people have is that they don't realize that this moves sling side away from you, right? So when you twist, you're moving the sling away from you. And they move the sling inside towards their body. That will disqualify your qualification. I don't want the rifle to move inside your body because that looks awkward and rough. So you're going to twist the rifle on the outside. The reason people do that is their thumb is tucked on the inside, and so they think it's this flicking motion with the thumb. Make sure you come over as a cross hand, almost like a salute. Grab the top part, twist the sling outside, and catch on your side. I'm looking for this sling to be facing out towards your audience, and for you to start from a port position. It'll do 1 1/4 rotations all the way across for your twisty. So that's it. If you pick that one, that's the whole thing I'm looking for. Thank you so much for continuing your journey with the dojo and moving on to the Yellow Sling curriculum. I really look forward to seeing you submit your video and for me to add your name online to the registry and qualify you as a Yellow Slinged driller. I can't wait to see you on the Orange Sling curriculum as well. Those videos are already up and posted. I really look forward to seeing how far you get on your journey through the dojo. It's been my pleasure to be here. Once again, I'm Adam Jupe. I'm the founder of the Drill Dojo, and I wish you the best. Happy drilling.